This is the tale of a remarkable era where humans have achieved the extraordinary feat of domesticating and nurturing dragons, seamlessly integrating them into the fabric of everyday existence. These majestic creatures, once the stuff of legends and folklore, have now assumed a pivotal role in the lives of all who dwell in this wondrous time. In that vast world of humans, dragons have been conveniently classified into various categories, each serving distinct purposes. The first group comprises small dragons, their size being more than that of a human by 2 or 3 times. These diminutive creatures possess an apposite capacity for transporting objects and even individuals, serving as trusty companions in the realm of logistics. Moving up the scale, we encounter the medium-sized dragons, towering over the landscape with a stature comparable to that of a house. Within their formidable frames lies the power to handle the transportation of heavy and bulky items, becoming essential allies in the grand symphony of movement and progress. These majestic creatures, with their awe-inspiring presence, carry out crucial tasks that would be impossible by ordinary means. Yet, amidst these classifications, there exists a select group of dragons that transcend the realms of utility and ascend to the status of core weaponry in the domain of armies. Ranging from mid-size to large, these dragons bear immense significance in the orchestration of military might. It is within this realm that the larger dragons find their purpose, obtaining titles of distinction and commanding the respect of all who witness their imposing forms. The custodians of these mighty creatures, known as Dragon Knights, undergo special training to master the art of forging an unbreakable bond with their scaled companions, ensuring their harmonious collaboration on the battlefield. Amidst this backdrop of conventional perspectives, we find Cyril LaRose, a remarkable exception among his fellow human beings. Cyril's perceptions of dragon transcends the boundaries of mere labor tools or instruments of warfare. During that era, being a Dragon Knight held a position of great prestige among the populace. Riding atop a dragon was not only considered incredibly cool, but also offered substantial financial rewards. On a typical day, Cyril strolls through the bustling town, his eyes keenly observing the activities around him. In the midst of his walk, he catches sight of a man engaged in a struggle with a small dragon. Despite the man's commands, the dragon remains motionless, unresponsive to his pleas. Intrigued, Cyril approaches for a closer look, and it is then that he notices the unmistakable limp in the dragon's right hind leg. With empathy in his heart, Cyril approaches the man and compassionately informs him about the dragon's injured limb. Recognizing the significance of such an ailment, Cyril kindly suggests that the dragon be given a well-deserved day of rest, considering its evident emotional distress. Our MC is just the epitome of kindness. It's truly a delight to witness his benevolent nature in action. The dragon pays his thanks to Cyril, and he tells the dragon to take care. We learn that Cyril can talk to the dragons, and he is the only human being with such a miraculous skill. Wait, what? He empathizes with these creatures, and due to this, he is often ridiculed by others who only think of the dragons as tools. Due to Cyril's exceptional aptitude in handling dragons and his distinct approach to commanding them, he was sought after by Lindworm, the largest guild of Dragon Knights. However, Cyril found himself at odds with the guild's treatment of dragons, unable to remain silent when witnessing their mistreatment. Consequently, he was swiftly expelled from Lindworm, barely a month after joining. Despite this abrupt departure, Cyril remains unperturbed, as he had already desired to part ways with the guild. Now, he must forge his path as a freelance Dragon Knight in order to sustain himself. Visiting the public office, Cyril's gaze falls upon a plethora of requests that are open for anyone to undertake, encompassing various tasks related to the realm of Dragon Knights. As he fixates on the job board, he realizes that the majority of these requests necessitate the use of rented dragons, highlighting the challenge that ordinary individuals face in acquiring their own dragon companions. Accepting a commission to train a recently hatched dragon, Cyril proceeds to the designated destination where the client, Patrick, awaits. Patrick explains his predicament of struggling to domesticate a dragon he purchased for his son. Cyril discovers it has become a prevalent custom to raise both a child and dragon in tandem, with the hope that a deep bond will form between them, rendering the dragon a loyal protector for the child. Now that's a very clever way to earn a loyal bodyguard. Patrick tells Cyril that he hired many dragon tamers, but his dragon wouldn't obey them. Cyril wonders for a moment and then asks Patrick to let him see the dragon. In the backyard of the house, Cyril sees a Tarrasque dragon. Patrick informs Cyril that the dragon suits his needs perfectly, as it won't grow too big and will adapt to their daily lives. Cyril approaches the dragon and introduces himself. As soon as the dragon notices Cyril, he yells that they should let her see her sister. Cyril feels worried and asks the dragon the whole story. Suddenly, the dragon is surprised that a human can understand her. She tells Cyril that she was separated from her sister when she was born. The dragon requests Cyril to let her live with her sister, and for that, she'll obey him. Both agree on the terms that once she reunites with her sister, she'll take care of Patrick's son and serve them. Cyril tells Patrick the whole story, and Patrick agrees to go look for the dragon's sister. They go to the dragon merchant where Patrick had bought the first dragon. They successfully find the dragon sister there. Both dragon sisters see one another, and a display of love and affection between both Tarrasque sisters after this unbelieving reuniting can be seen. A soothing moment indeed. When Patrick observes them cuddling, he is forced to understand that the dragons are also like humans. He decides to buy the other dragon too, and both dragons pay their thanks to Cyril and are ready to obey Cyril's command. Cyril pets them and tells them to get along, leaving them to Patrick's care. Patrick praises Cyril as he was about to give up on taming the dragon, but Cyril did the unbelievable. Cyril advises Patrick to never separate the sisters even after they grow up, given that they can create troubles for him. After leaving the sister and Patrick, Cyril reminisces about being kicked out of the best guild, but he sticks to his plans and doesn't regret anything. According to Cyril, he understands the feelings of dragons because he understands their language. With determination, he continues to cohere with this dragon first principle. The next day, Cyril returns to the public office and sees some dragon knights setting back after seeing an intimidating request. Cyril selects that very request since he wants to make a good reputation with his clients in the future. Arriving at the residence of his latest client, Cyril is greeted by a magnificent mansion that stands before him. Although the task at hand seems mundane, merely involving the delivery of a letter, Cyril doesn't perceive it as particularly lucrative since it necessitates the presence of a dragon. Nevertheless, driven by his commitment to maintaining a strong work ethic, he resolves to fulfill the job diligently. Cyril's new client, Catherine Morinier, is a wealthy young woman hailing from the esteemed Morinier family, who holds the distinguished title of Count and governs the local region. Catherine, taken aback by Cyril's unassuming appearance and youthful age, bombards him with a barrage of inquiries. Poor MC is up against some serious obstacles. With interviews out of the way, Cyril demands Catherine to know the nature of the letter so he can protect it accordingly, ensuring success. Catherine first doubts Cyril, but ultimately decides to reveal the type of letter Cyril has to deliver. After hesitating a bit, she reveals that it is a love letter, a reply to Baron Bouquet's love letter. It is evident from Catherine's facial expressions that she has to play along with this so-called love affair out of a formal necessity, and doesn't look very invested in the relationship, but she wants the letter to be delivered anyway. She tells Cyril that the letter is to be delivered to a location known as Rimbaud, and asks him the number of days it would take to deliver the letter. Cyril surprises her by promising to deliver her letter within 1 day. Catherine doesn't give him a very satisfying look, and thinks that Cyril is promising something that might not be easily possible. She then reveals that the reason she is shocked is because the other people she hired for this job have asked for 3 days. Catherine hires Cyril and demands proof of receipt as a condition for the payment of completing the job, and hands Cyril the letter. Cyril leaves Catherine with determination to give the job his best shot, because it was his best chance to not only get acquainted with the Morinier family, but also he will be able to build a good reputation with the Baron's family. He heads to a shop to borrow a dragon so he can travel to deliver the letter. He plans to use his knowledge of the dragons to fulfill his claims to get the job done within a day. He enters a shop and already knows what he is looking for. He asks the merchant for a wyvern dragon and demands a faster one even among the wyverns. The merchant nods and tells Cyril that he has 3 wyverns at that moment, and takes Cyril to the wyverns. Cyril sees a lot of dragon species in the backyard of the shop, and since the merchant knows that every dragon knight has a secret way of communicating with the dragons, Cyril doesn't mind his secret of talking to the dragons leaking out. As he approaches the wyverns, he hears them talking to each other, saying a human is heading their way. One of the wyverns thinks of Cyril, a human being that looks stupid in comparison to the last customer. As Cyril approaches them, he protests against the wyverns for being harsh on him, saying that he's stupid. The wyvern laughs off Cyril's protest and says that he is only speaking the truth. The next moment, the same wyvern is stunned when he notices that a human being can understand their language, not to mention freely communicating with him. The wyverns are shocked and consider this to be very rare for a human being to be able to freely speak to them. One of the wyverns asks Cyril if he was raised by a dragon and gets shocked even more when Cyril replies no. The wyverns call him weird and ask for the reason for his visit. Cyril cuts to the chase and asks for the fastest partner to accompany him to deliver a letter. Amidst the conversation, one of the wyverns eagerly interrupts, proclaiming himself to be the fastest of the trio. But before Cyril can even respond, the other wyvern chimes in, practically jumping with excitement, bombarding Cyril with questions about the nature of the letter. Without a moment's respite, the wyvern starts firing off inquiries as if it were a juicy love letter. Cyril, utterly bewildered by the wyvern's enthusiasm, simply nods in agreement. Seizing the opportunity, the wyvern proceeds to extract every trivial detail, demanding to know the gender of the letter sender. Caught off guard yet again, Cyril, feeling completely overwhelmed by the wyvern's rapid-fire questioning, answers obediently. With the revelation that the letter is from a female, the wyvern's excitement reaches new heights, practically begging Cyril to choose him for the task. Once again, before Cyril can even give his answer, the wyvern has his next demand thrown at him. He wants to hold the letter too. Cyril is really confused at that moment and hesitantly says the word why. The other 2 wyverns seem not to be very interested in the human females and ridicules the excited wyvern. The wyvern keeps his excitement intact. The merchant tells Cyril that the other wyvern is the fastest. Cyril sees that wyvern, but after thinking it through, He sees the earlier wyvern standing in despair and ends up choosing the wyvern with more excitement for the job. The merchant is confused about why Cyril isn't picking a wyvern with the fastest speed. The wyvern is very happy and asks for the letter. Cyril hesitantly gives him the letter. The wyvern holds the letter in his mouth and shouts with joy that the letter has the scent of a pretty lady. Cyril rethinks his options and they set off toward their destination. When the wyvern shouts in pleasure about the handwriting of a lady, Cyril seriously thinks that the wyvern's degree of lewdness is almost incredible. Who needs comedy shows when you have a pervert wyvern on your side? However, the wyvern proves to be a good choice as he flies at a tremendous speed after receiving the letter as promised, and they manage to reach their destination in half a day. The Baron gets overly excited to get the letter, and right after he gets it, he sends Cyril off. Cyril now understands that the Baron is a strange person, and must have been very difficult to handle for Catherine. Cyril takes the reply for Catherine and hands the letter to the wyvern. Once again, thanks to the never-ending excitement of the wyvern, they reach back to Catherine within the next half of the remaining day. When Catherine sees the job done even before a complete day, she is amazed with excitement. For her, the feat is quite unbelievable to complete that job within a day as promised. She praises Cyril's capabilities. She is so impressed with the young man sitting before her that she properly asks for his name and promises to keep him in mind for any of the next tasks. This marks a great success for Cyril because now the richest client is well acquainted with him as he had previously desired. The next day, Cyril goes to the dragon market to have a look at the dragons, but it is still far from his reach to buy a dragon for himself. He plans to buy a dragon in the future, which will make it easy for him to do more jobs. He walks through looking at the dragons until he notices a Balar dragon very well underpriced, and he starts to worry. Cyril steps into the owner's shop, his face etched with worry. To his astonishment, he discovers that Balar, the dragon he's been eyeing, is priced so affordably that he could easily purchase her with the earnings from his previous guild. Yet the sight of the torn poster displaying Balar's price tugs at his heartstrings, leaving him feeling a tinge of sadness. Determined to unravel the mystery, Cyril musters the courage to question the owner about the unbelievable price. The owner, visibly nervous, hesitates before responding, further fueling Cyril's growing concern. He presses on, seeking assurance that there isn't anything wrong with Balar. With a hint of relief, the owner assures him that Balar is in perfect health, perhaps even healthier than the average dragon of her kind. Intrigued by the enigma surrounding Balar's inexplicably low price, Cyril persists, demanding an explanation. The owner, now more apprehensive than ever, stammers out the truth. Balar lacks the motivation to engage in any kind of work. The owner earnestly warns Cyril against purchasing the seemingly discounted dragon, cautioning him that it might not be the wisest choice. Nevertheless, Cyril insists on seeing Balar, and the owner reluctantly leads him to a resting place. Cyril gazes at the slumbering Balar, recalling his knowledge about this particular species. He recalls that Balars are commonly utilized for transportation purposes, although they may not be the swiftest creatures. However, their broad backs grant them excellent endurance, making them reliable for long journeys. Additionally, being herbivores, Balars can sustain themselves by grazing on meadows and drinking from rivers, alleviating the owner's concerns about providing ample food. As Cyril observes Balar peacefully indulging in her well-deserved rest, oblivious to her surroundings, he warmly greets her. With a determined spirit, Cyril engages in conversation with Balar, attempting to elicit a response from the nonchalant dragon. He poses his question with the utmost politeness, genuinely curious about the reasons behind her reluctance to work. However, Balar remains utterly uninterested, dismissing Cyril's inquiries as if she knows there's no point engaging with the mere human. Opening her eyes, she finally breaks her silence, bluntly stating that conversing with a human holds no significance for her. Oblivious to Cyril's ability to understand her, Balar remains in a state of blissful relaxation. Startled by her revelation, Cyril confirms his comprehension, prompting Balar to spring to her feet in disbelief, repeatedly confirming that Cyril can indeed comprehend her words. Although momentarily perturbed by the notion of human-dragon communication, Balar swiftly returns to her usual melancholic self, uninterested in further dialogue. Seriously, the reputation of all the dragons is at stake here. Filled with genuine concern, Cyril expresses his willingness to assist Balar, but on the condition that she reveals the cause behind her current state. Balar remains skeptical, pondering for a moment before casually remarking that she simply wants to sleep. She explains to Cyril that she requires a full 12 hours of slumber each day, emphasizing that without it, she lacks the energy to perform any work. Cyril finds the sleep pattern rather unusual for a dragon, aware that most dragons typically rest for a mere 2 hours, or even work while sleeping. However, he acknowledges that each dragon possesses their own unique traits and quirks. Contemplating the purchase of Balar, Cyril directly asks her if she would be willing to work for him if he ensures her 12 hours of daily sleep. Balar, doubting the possibility of a human granting such a request, suspects Cyril of deception. In response, Cyril affirms his sincerity, assuring her that if he had no intention of acquiring her, he wouldn't waste time engaging in idle conversation. Balar, still uncertain, cautiously questions whether Cyril would genuinely allow her the desired sleep. Without hesitation, Cyril wholeheartedly replies with a resounding yes, confirming his commitment to her well-rested state. However, he demands her to work hard after getting enough rest, and and Balar agrees to believe in Cyril and decides to go with him. The owner is very surprised to see Cyril being confident in his choice to choose a lazy dragon like Balar, and sets the condition that the deal won't reimburse. At that moment, our wise MC, Cyril, says historic words that it is solely the knight's ability that a dragon will work or not. While it may not appear to be the most promising offer, who can resist a dragon at such an unbeatable price? MC, the valiant dragon knight, is all in. Cyril pays the money and takes Balar into his possession. As they've walked for a few moments, Cyril's good guy aura makes him think of a nice name for Balar. When he tells Balar that he wants to name her to make things easier, Balar thinks it is weird for a human to properly name a dragon, since it is accustomed to call a dragon by numbers. Cyril ensures that naming her would be more adequate since he knows her language. Cyril names Balar Luis, but apparently, Balar seems not very enthusiastic about the name. This makes Cyril worry and force him to think if Balar didn't like the name. When he asks Balar whether the name is to her liking, she says that she likes the name, but she feels weird for receiving a name when it is not a common practice for humans to be kind enough to name their dragons. Balar likes the name anyways, thinking it would be good and she could get used to it. Up to that moment, both have reached Cyril's home and he introduces Luis to his home. To Cyril's surprise, the very first thing Luis has to say is, where is she going to sleep? Since Cyril is a nice guy, he lets Luis choose the place to sleep and tells her she is welcome to sleep anywhere in the home or the garden. When Cyril sees Luis a bit shocked to see the garden empty, he tells her that he rented a large house for a big dragon to live in. However, Luis is not bothered by the empty garden onward and is okay with it, as long as she is allowed to sleep. Cyril is so surprised by how much sleep matters to Luis that he sarcastically inquires that she must really like to sleep. Cyril then tells her that the day is almost over, and since he doesn't have anything to do, she could go to sleep. It is evident that Luis is equally as in shock as earlier that, unlike other humans, Cyril will let her sleep so easily. She asks Cyril once again if he is sure he wants a dragon like her to be his dragon of choice. But Cyril has no second thoughts and tells Luis to go ahead and sleep without anything to worry about. Since it is not common for a human to be kind toward dragons as much as Cyril, Luis tells Cyril that he is weird, to which Cyril replies that he is often called the same by other people too. When Luis thinks that her master has earned her trust, she decides to reveal her secret. She shocks Cyril by telling him that she has something to show him that she has never shown to anyone. By saying so, she bursts out spears of light in the sky, shocking the wind out of Cyril. He sees the spears of light with disbelief in his eyes, since it is not a trait of the Balar species to shoot out such a magnificent display from her mouth. With a shocked look in his eyes, he asks Luis how is it possible for her to do that when he has never seen a Balar to have such a power. He shows his concerns by telling her that he has seen hundreds of Balars, but she is the first one to possess such power. With that said, Luis reveals the drawback of using her unique power, which is that she gets super tired after using the power. Cyril feels happy, but he isn't able to contemplate the source of such power and understands that the Spear of Lights are so powerful that they might cost lots of energy, resulting in exhaustion. Luis promises to use her power if Cyril ever requires her to use it for him, but given that Cyril is a nice guy, he tells her not to push herself too hard. He shows his gratitude anyway, and when the next sun rises, Cyril finds Luis sleeping in the garden. He greets her and tells her he'll go out to look for work for them. Luis opens her eyes, and Cyril tells her she may sleep until the afternoon before he comes back with some job requests. After leaving home, Cyril wonders about Luis being unsure if he'd continue to let her sleep, and thinks that now she knows that she can trust him. He goes to the public office to find a job. While he stares at the job board to find a job, he looks for a transportation-related job now that he owns a Balar. Suddenly, he is called by the receptionist named Rose, who tells him that she was waiting for him. She tells him that she has a request for him. Cyril is shocked by a sudden invitation for a request specifically for him. Rose informs him that Lady Catherine thinks very highly of him and the request is from her. She says to him that it is not an easy feat for a freelancer to satisfy Lady Catherine's demands. The sound of those words rings a tone of success, and Cyril's efforts have finally paid off. When he asks for the nature of the request, Rose tells the details and reveals that it is a secret search mission, and surprises him by saying that the princess is missing. Cyril is caught off guard and utterly shocked upon receiving the news of the princess's disappearance. And as he asks Rose seeking further details, it becomes evident that even she possesses limited knowledge on the matter, merely mentioning a vague location in the mountains where the princess was last sighted. Rose proceeds to brief Cyril about the incident, divulging that the princess's entourage vanished while traversing the perilous Himyar Mountains to the north. When Cyril inquires about the timeline, he learns that it hasn't been long since the princess went missing the previous night. Enveloped in an aura of utmost secrecy surrounding the mission, Rose cautions Cyril that the client insists on assessing the situation before proceeding. Undeterred by the weighty responsibility, Cyril bravely accepts the job, resolute in his determination to unveil the truth. Accompanied by his faithful companion Luis, they embark on their journey toward the Himyar Mountains, with Cyril visibly anxious about the princess's fate, harboring a deep fear of the worst possible outcome. Our MC is just thrilled to dive headfirst into a top-secret rescue mission with vague information and a deep fear of the worst possible outcome. Nonetheless, he feels an immense sense of honor in being entrusted with such a vital mission. fully aware of the magnitude of the task at hand. As they draw closer to the mountains, Cyril retrieves a letter from his pocket, excitedly explaining to Luis that it was penned by the princess herself, hoping to harness Luis's extraordinary olfactory abilities to track her down. Although initially unsure about her sense of smell, Luis, convinced of her superiority over mere humans, gamely agrees to give it a try. Astonishingly, the moment Luis catches a whiff of the letter, she swiftly detects the princess's scent nearby, leaving Cyril dumbfounded by her incredible skill. Prepare to have your mind blown by the sheer force emitted from the dragon's nostrils. Luis attributes her success to the letter's aromatic essence, infused with spices that Cyril surmises to be the princess's signature perfume fragrance. Overwhelmed by Luis's acute sense of smell, Cyril realizes that any scent would be exceptionally potent for a dragon of her caliber. Filled with renewed determination, Cyril instructs Luis to diligently follow the tantalizing scent trail, showering her with praise for navigating the treacherous mountain terrain with effortless grace, a task he alone would have found insurmountable. Luis's agility brings a genuine smile to Cyril's face, although a fleeting flashback momentarily dampens his mood, reminding him that his methods might not have been well received in his previous guild. Nevertheless, they press on, driven by their shared purpose. Suddenly, Luis halts abruptly, capturing Cyril's full attention. With great anticipation, Luis reveals that she has detected something of utmost importance below them. Peering over the edge, Cyril's eyes widen in astonishment as he spots a landslide, revealing the unmistakable presence of the princess's carriage. Suspicion arises within Cyril that the princess may still be confined within the carriage, causing him to question the safety of descending to her rescue. Ever fearless, Luis reassures Cyril that descending would be a breeze for her. Once again, we are talking about a freaking dragon here. Without hesitation, Luis gracefully scales down the mountainside, leading Cyril to the princess's carriage. There, they find the unmistakable crest, confirming beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have located the princess's vehicle. Overwhelmed by concern for the princess's well-being, Cyril carefully assesses the condition of the fallen bodyguards, fretting over their safety. As he reaches out to touch the carriage, Cyril is startled by a formidable barrier, its protective aura acting as a deterrent. After careful consideration, Cyril and Luis devise a plan to harness Luis's formidable power to break through the barrier. With a single powerful strike, Luis shatters the barrier, leaving Cyril awestruck as he showers her with heartfelt admiration. Just how many times is she going to surprise us today? So useful, eh? Peering inside the carriage, Cyril's gaze locks onto the almost unconscious form of the princess. Aware that the barrier might have shielded her from harm, Cyril approaches the princess and gently tries to awaken her. Startled by the presence of a stranger in her carriage, the princess reacts with initial confusion, leading to shouts and protests. Remaining calm and composed, Cyril explains the situation, assuring her that he is there to save her. Gradually, the princess regains her composure and directs her attention outside the carriage, taking in the sight of her fallen soldiers and the wreckage around them. Sensing the urgency of the situation, Cyril suggests finding a doctor once they descend from the mountains. However, displaying her compassionate nature, the princess expresses concern for the well-being of her soldiers instead. Such a noble princess. Cyril explains the impracticality of carrying the injured soldiers at the moment, promising to return for them as soon as possible. Moved by Cyril's dedication and care, the princess extends her hand toward him, and Cyril, understanding her intent, offers his hand in support. With Cyril's assistance, the princess steps out of the carriage, her legs a bit unsteady from the ordeal she has endured. As they begin their descent from the mountains, Cyril inquires about the princess's well-being, mentioning the steady gait of the balar that aided their rescue, ensuring a more comfortable ride. Lost in her thoughts, the princess appears distant, prompting Cyril to inquire about her troubles. Startled, the princess admits her occupation and proceeds to verify Cyril's identity as a dragon knight. She questions why someone of his caliber has chosen to work as a freelancer instead of aligning with a guild. Cyril is taken aback by the princess's judgment of his abilities based on their brief encounter, and queries her reasoning behind the assumption. The princess explains that a dragon knight cherished by their dragon holds immeasurable value, and she wonders why Cyril has not sought the support and recognition of a guild. Cyril offers vague explanations, choosing to keep his personal reasons to himself, as their conversation takes place during their descent from the mountains. Before long, Cyril and the princess reach the public office, where Rose awaits them. Rose is astonished and relieved to see the princess safe and sound, showering Cyril with praise for his remarkable accomplishment. Expressing her heartfelt gratitude, the princess expresses a desire to reward Cyril for his heroic efforts. However, being an honorable knight driven by a strong sense of duty, Cyril refuses any additional compensation beyond the agreed-upon payment for the mission. Left without any material gifts, the princess searches for a way to express her gratitude. Eventually, she settles on offering Cyril a handkerchief adorned with her crest, assuring him that he can rely on her aid whenever he may need it. Cyril accepts the handkerchief graciously, touched by the princess's gesture. He bids farewell to the princess, feeling a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that their mission to rescue her has been a resounding success. As Cyril and Luis depart from public office, their hearts are filled with a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing they have made a significant difference in the princess's life and in preserving the kingdom's well-being. Cyril receives a substantial payment of 1,000 reals for his successful rescue mission of the princess, which is a considerable sum for anyone involved. Louise, his loyal companion, reminds Cyril of his promise to buy her a litter as a reward, but Cyril seems to have a different plan in mind. He disappoints Louise by declining the request for a litter, explaining that 1,000 reals are worth a month's earnings for an average person. Therefore, he suggests they look for something far superior to a litter, a nurturing and benevolent caretaker of an incredibly valuable and indispensable dragon. Upon hearing Cyril's mention of something even better than a litter, a glimmer of happiness and excitement lights up Louise's eyes, and she eagerly inquires about his suggestion. Cyril indulges her curiosity by revealing his plan to purchase proper bedding for her, further igniting her enthusiasm. Louise, having never seen proper bedding in her life, wonders what it looks like. They come across a store that specializes in supplies for dragons. However, before they enter the store, a familiar face emerges, a dragon knight from Cyril's past guild, Lindworm. The dragon knight expresses surprise at seeing Cyril and mentions being informed about his departure from the guild. Cyril's demeanor becomes troubled by the presence of his former guildmate. The dragon knight offers to speak to the higher-ups in the guild, suggesting that Cyril can rejoin their ranks. Cyril expresses his gratitude for the offer, but firmly refuses to return to the guild, remaining steadfast in his decision. The dragon knight then attempts to persuade Cyril by mentioning that he would have to give up his principles of treating dragons as equals to be readmitted. However, Cyril remains disinterested and rejects the offer, unwilling to compromise his beliefs. The dragon knight considers Cyril's stance as stubbornness, believing that being affiliated with a powerful guild like Lindworm is a desire shared by many. He emphasizes that without guild affiliation, one can achieve very little in today's world, and continues his attempts to change Cyril's mind. Meanwhile, Louise's patience wears thinner than a slice of paper as she endures their seemingly never-ending banter, constantly reminding Cyril about the captivating subject they were discussing. Yes, you guessed it, the highly anticipated realm of bedding. Cyril, ever the bearer of enlightening news, reveals that the audacious dragon knight has the audacity to suggest that allowing Louise a mere 12 hours of beauty sleep per day might not be the most ideal arrangement. Well, hold on to your armor, because Louise, fueled by an indomitable loyalty to her master, unleashes her terrifying presence upon the dragon knight, sending shivers down his armored spine. The dragon knight, in a fit of frustration, implores Cyril to exercise some control over his almighty dragon. Little does he know that Cyril, the master of subtlety, hasn't uttered a single command to Louise, leaving the dragon knight baffled, bewildered, and utterly befuddled. With a sly grin, Cyril graciously accepts the dragon knight's compliments about his seemingly supernatural dragon whispering prowess. But in a plot twist of epic proportions, he reveals that his magical secret lies not in incantations or enchanted artifacts, but in the simple act of cherishing his scaly companions. Cue the gasps of disbelief and the dragon knight's bewildered expression as Cyril drops this bombshell revelation. Who needs spells and potions when you can have genuine affection for your seemingly fire-breathing comrades, right? Anyway, after the dragon knight leaves, whining about the encounter, Louise finds him peculiar. Cyril explains that he and the other dragon knights never see eye to eye. Cyril then tenderly consoles Louise, gently caressing her scales and whispering soothing words of comfort. He reassures her, with a voice filled with unwavering devotion, that he will always prioritize her well-being, making sure that she enjoys her blissful slumber for a full 12 hours each day as long as she remains by his side. With a heartfelt understanding passing between them, they step into the store, where the owner greets them warmly. Cyril asks the store owner for bedding suitable for his dragon, and Louise can hardly contain her joy when she sees the array of bedding before her. Overwhelmed with happiness, she joyfully jumps onto the bedding, causing Cyril to worry and apologize to the owner for any trouble caused. The owner assures Cyril that the beddings on display are samples for trial, and Louise revels in the comfort and elasticity of the bed, likening it to resting on a slime. Louise continuously praises the bed and revels in its comfort, prompting Cyril to ask if that bed is what she desires to sleep on from now on. Louise eagerly expresses her consent and believes that the bed surpasses the litter. However, she suddenly notices that the bed comes with a hefty price of 1,200 reals, making Cyril realize that it is quite luxurious. Concerned about the cost, Louise expresses her worry and wonders if Cyril will be able to afford it. In response, Cyril assures her that he is not concerned about the expenses and emphasizes that her happiness is what truly matters to him. Cyril's unwavering commitment to Louise's happiness, regardless of the price, reveals the profound love and care he holds for her. Cyril decides to purchase the bedding for Louise, and the store owner commends Cyril's ability to effectively communicate with dragons, noting that he has never seen a dragon knight as successful with their dragons as Cyril. Cyril humbly attributes his success to treating his dragons like family. With the bedding secured, both Cyril and Louise leave the store filled with happiness. Louise comments on the weight of the bedding, causing Cyril to express concern and ask if she can handle its weight. As they continue their walk, Louise comes to a sudden halt, her heart heavy with a tinge of guilt upon realizing that the cost of the bedding surpasses the amount they earned during their heroic princess rescue mission. Worries of selfishness start to consume her, but Cyril, ever understanding and compassionate, downplays the concern, assuring Louise that there is no need to fret. With a warm smile, he reminds her of his promise to reward her, emphasizing how incredibly proud he is of her exceptional efforts. leaving Louise pleasantly taken aback by his words. Gratefulness fills her heart as she earnestly expresses her heartfelt thanks to her cherished master, their bond deepening with every step they take. The relationship as master and dragon grows stronger each day, and Cyril and Louise continue to undertake jobs together. One day after completing their work, Louise expresses her fatigue to Cyril. Acknowledging the heavy workload they have been facing, Cyril agrees that it has been demanding, but explains that they must persevere to make a living. Cyril assures Louise that he will not overwork her and suggests that she goes home on her own that day while he finishes turning in their quest. As Louise starts heading home, Cyril becomes worried and considers the potential dangers she might encounter. However, given the peaceful nature of the town, he believes that she will be safe and allows her to go on her own. Suddenly, a realization dawns on him. If his dragons can go back home independently, then perhaps he can instruct them to do work on their own as well. After completing the quest, Cyril contemplates the idea of acquiring another dragon, expanding his team and capabilities. With newfound possibilities in mind, Cyril sets off to explore the options that lie ahead. More dragons, the better. As he steps into the bustling market, Cyril's eyes light up with a familiarity as he comes face to face with the merchant from whom he had acquired his beloved companion, Louise. Recognizing Cyril as the customer who had chosen the endearingly lazy Balar dragon, the merchant greets him warmly, their previous encounter instantly rekindling fond memories. Amidst the pleasantries, a flicker of concern crosses the merchant's face, hinting at potential issues with Balar's performance. Sensing the worry, Cyril quickly reassures the merchant that he has no intention of complaining or seeking a refund, assuring him that his dragon is thriving and bringing him immeasurable joy. With a mischievous grin, Cyril admits his intention to expand his dragon family, albeit on a tight budget. After indulging in something extravagantly delightful, he humbly confesses his inability to splurge on another dragon, expressing his earnest desire for a more affordable option. Hopeful yet understanding, he queries the merchant about the availability of any inexpensive dragons. Regrettably, the merchant shakes his head, regretfully informing Cyril that for the time being, cheap dragons like Balar are currently not in stock, leaving Cyril to ponder his options with a mix of curiosity and determination. With a tinge of embarrassment lingering within him, Cyril finds solace in private reflection, contemplating the outcome of his quest for a cheap dragon. Undeterred by the lack of success, he politely implores the merchant to keep him in mind should a pocket-friendly dragon eventually grace the market. However, amidst their conversation, a serendipitous mishap occurs as Cyril inadvertently drops the delicate handkerchief gifted to him by the princess. Swift to notice the fluttering fabric, the observant merchant draws Cyril's gaze. He finds himself taken aback by the merchant's recognition of the princess's emblem crest emblazoned upon the handkerchief, a revelation that sends a ripple of astonishment through him. The merchant, sporting a nervous bead of sweat on his brow, cautiously inquires about the crest, seeking confirmation of its affiliation with the princess. With a mixture of pride and gratitude, Cyril affirms that the crest indeed represents the royal emblem, going on to recount the tale of how the handkerchief came to be in his possession, a token of the princess's heartfelt appreciation for his aid rendered during a perilous undertaking. The merchant's demeanor instantly changes to a highly respectful manner, addressing Cyril as Sir. He smiles and offers Cyril the option to buy a dragon and pay in installments. Ah, the remarkable power of connections. It seems our dear MC is destined for nothing less than instant celebrity status. Cyril is astonished by the unexpected offer and expresses his disbelief. The merchant grants Cyril the privilege of choosing his preferred payment method. Cyril quickly realizes that the merchant's change in attitude stems from his connection to the princess, as he wants to foster a good relationship with Cyril. Ah, the wonders of networking. Sensing the opportunity, Cyril chooses to pay in installments, which pleases the merchant. The merchant then leads Cyril to the backyard and inquires about the type of dragon he is seeking. Cyril mentions his interest in a specific dragon species called Mashushu due to their unique abilities. He explains that these dragons have a relatively small size, but possess 4 stomachs with one dedicated to digestion and the others for storing items. As they store objects in their extra stomachs, their bodies expand, allowing them to carry a substantial amount of food. The merchant introduces Cyril to a mush dragon. In a comical twist of miscommunication, Cyril bravely attempts to strike up a conversation with the mush dragon, introducing himself with the utmost enthusiasm. Little does he know that his fluency in dragon language leaves the mush dragon utterly oblivious, dismissing him as just another hapless human attempting to communicate. Undeterred by such ignorance, Cyril playfully questions whether he's forbidden to engage in conversation with her. With a nonchalant air, the mush dragon curtly responds, asserting that there's simply no point in talking when understanding is off the table. Ah, the challenges of interspecies communication. But lo and behold, as Cyril's secret talent is unexpectedly revealed, the mush dragon is left flabbergasted, her dragon jaw practically hitting the ground. With a skeptical tone, she probes Cyril, desperately seeking confirmation that a human can indeed comprehend her dragon language. Failing to wrap her reptilian mind around the concept, she curiously demands an explanation for Cyril's unique ability. In a matter-of-fact manner, Cyril attributes his gift to being born with an extraordinary talent for conversing with dragons. surprising the mush dragon even further. Amidst the amusing exchange, Cyril unabashedly expresses his desire to purchase the mush dragon. Bewildered by Cyril's peculiar manners, the mush dragon can't help but find it absurd that he would ask for permission when he could simply snatch her away. Oh, the bewildering ways of human-dragon negotiations. Cyril clarifies his intentions, assuring her that he wants her consent and will not force her if she prefers not to go with him. He emphasizes that he genuinely desires to have her as his companion and work together. Surprised by Cyril's response, the beautiful mush dragon blushes and remarks that she doesn't have any interest in him, expressing her belief that all men are dreadful. Colette then reveals her true colors and discloses that she is happy to go with Cyril because she wants him to call her by her name. Cyril agrees to keep her name and honors her condition. He asks once again if she is willing to work with him, which causes her to blush again, behaving like a tsundere and making it sound as if she is doing him a favor by accepting him as her master. Captivated by her beauty, Cyril reaffirms his desire to have her as his dragon. After finalizing the deal, Cyril and Colette leave the merchant behind. Cyril takes her to the mountains and shows her the place where she will be working. He presents a beautiful blue ore to Colette and assigns her the task of collecting it from the mountains. He provides her with the necessary details about the ore and instructs her to store it in her storage stomach before returning to town to sell it at a high price. Colette confidently agrees to gather the ore, believing it will be an easy task. Cyril appreciates her assistance, and Colette is delighted to work for him. Cyril surprises her by requesting that she complete the task independently, without his supervision. Colette is taken aback, as it is a new concept for her to work without her master's guidance. Cyril assures her that he trusts her and won't observe her while she works. Although Colette questions whether Cyril is not afraid of her slacking off, he reaffirms his trust in her. Colette agrees to work alone, and the traders are astonished when Cyril proposes the terms of the business. Colette flawlessly carries out her assigned work without any assistance. Cyril is pleased to see her competence and realize that his business plan can succeed. After Colette finishes her daily tasks, Cyril shows her his home. He leads her to the backyard garden and asks if she finds it suitable for sleeping. Colette expresses that she prefers the garden over the market as a place to rest. She notices another dragon in the garden, and Cyril introduces her to Louise. Louise wakes up and explains that she sensed someone beside Cyril, prompting her to awaken. Cyril informs Louise that he has decided to bring another dragon into their household. Colette introduces herself, and the dragons greet each other with smiles. Cyril observes his two dragons and becomes aware of the spatial limitations in his garden. Both dragons acknowledge the situation without much concern, expressing their opinions. Colette finds Louise's ability to sleep intriguing. Cyril realizes the need for a larger space if he plans to add another dragon to his companions. In a delightful turn of events, Cyril sets off on his adventure, accompanied by his trusty duo of dragons. As they stroll along, enjoying the day, Colette can't help but comment on Louise's perpetual state of slumber. With a drowsy expression, Louise openly confesses her unquenchable thirst for more rest, leaving Colette utterly perplexed. Colette turns to Cyril, questioning his profound knowledge of Louise's sleeping habits. After all, conventional dragons are known to catch only a quick snooze for 2 hours a day. Cyril reassures Colette that he is well aware of Louise's unique requirement for a solid 12-hour beauty sleep. He proudly explains that his extraordinary ability to converse with dragons has granted him unparalleled insight into their particular needs. Oh, the perks of being a dragon whisperer. To further illustrate his point, Cyril reminds Colette of her own idiosyncrasies when she originally protested against being named. As Louise remains serenely silent, unperturbed by the conversation, Colette's mood takes a whimsical turn, clearly contemplating the wonders of dragon individuality. Ah, the marvels of dragonhood and the delightful quirks that come with it. While walking, Colette suddenly becomes fixated on a shop, capturing Cyril's attention. He inquires about what has caught her eye, causing Colette to blush and deny any interest in the item she was observing. Cyril attempts to encourage her to share her desires, but Colette refuses, citing her recent mood swing as the reason for her secrecy. She excuses herself and goes off on her daily routine, parting ways with Cyril. Once Colette is gone, Cyril scans the surroundings, searching for the object that captivated her attention. After completing his errands with Louise, Cyril temporarily leaves her in a secure location and heads to the dragon merchant shop. The merchant warmly welcomes Cyril, who inquires about Colette's visit to him. The merchant reveals that Colette had visited earlier and presents Cyril with the bag of money she had given him. Cyril explains that the bag contains Colette's earnings from her first day of work, which will cover the first installment's payment. He informs the merchant that Colette will continue to make regular installment payments. The merchant is highly impressed by this arrangement and commends Cyril for training Colette to perform such a demanding task in just one day. Quite, of course. He is the MC for crying out loud. He expresses surprise, noting that Cyril must possess the remarkable talent to train his dragons to work independently. The merchant praises Cyril's character, remarking that he didn't anticipate Cyril to make the payment so promptly, as most people are usually late with their payments. Cyril reciprocates the praise, expressing his desire to establish a good relationship with the merchant, as he treats his dragons better than other establishments. The merchant smiles and shares that all the dragons in his store are like precious treasures to him. He then expresses his concern about Cyril's limited space to accommodate 2 dragons. Cyril acknowledges the merchant's observation and is astonished that the merchant has also noticed his spatial challenges. The merchant explains that in town, there are only 2 types of places: small areas suitable for 1 or 2 dragons, and larger spaces capable of housing dozens of dragons. Cyril acknowledges the merchant's knowledge and expresses his willingness to hear more. The merchant informs Cyril about a large house he can show him, but warns him about a problem associated with it. Despite the house being newly built, the dragons have shown a reluctance to reside there. Cyril accepts the merchant's offer and agrees to visit the potential new residents. The merchant is pleased and expresses his delight that Cyril is willing to proceed. Cyril takes both of his dragons to see their prospective home, understanding that seasoned dragon knights previously occupied it, but none of their dragons desire to enter the magnificent house. As both dragons gaze at the house, they find it marvelous and ideal for living. Cyril mentions that the house has been empty for a long time due to its drawback, allowing him to lease it at an affordable price. Cyril plans to utilize his ability to communicate with dragons to resolve the issue and make the house their own. With a glimmer of hope in his eyes, Cyril eagerly leads Louise and Colette to the dragon shed, excited to show them their new dwelling. At first, their faces light up with anticipation, their tails wagging in delight. However, as they step inside, their expressions swiftly transform from joy to disappointment, then to utter disgust. Their delicate noses twitching, they communicate their distaste for the shed, leaving Cyril taken aback. His heart sinking, Cyril listens as the dragons articulate their grievances. They lament the putrid stench that permeates the air, emanating from the filthy floor and the dirt that blankets their new abode. Their sensitive senses had no solace in this unpleasant environment, and the weight of their discontent hangs heavy in the air. They describe the smell as one that evokes a sense of dread, as if they can almost smell the murder of a dragon in the shed long ago, making it extremely unpleasant for them. Cyril, unable to detect any foul odor, becomes curious about the smell that only dragons can perceive. He asks the dragons to indicate the specific area which the smell is coming from, and they point out the floor and the dirt. Afterward, the dragons exit the shed, expressing their inability to endure the offensive smell. Cyril inquires about the nature of the smell, and they reveal that it resembles the scent of a slain dragon, with remnants causing the trembling odor. The dragons explain that the smell instills a feeling of dread, making it highly unpleasant for them. With this newfound knowledge, Cyril devises a plan to replace the dirt on the floor. He instructs Colette to find alternative dirt that she prefers. Since Louise still requires rest, Cyril takes it upon himself to dig and remove the existing dirt. Louise apologizes with a sad expression and rests outside the shed, while Cyril assists Colette in cleaning it. They work tirelessly throughout the day, leaving Cyril tired but determined. Their efforts pay off when both dragons appear happy, no longer experiencing any dread inside the shed. Colette believes that their hard work has paid off. With both dragons content in the shed, Cyril decides to move into the new house. Louise expresses great joy upon discovering the spacious and luxurious environment. Cyril expresses gratitude to both of his dragons for their constant assistance and extends special appreciation to Colette for her significant role in cleaning the shed. Colette expresses her happiness in helping her master. To show her gratitude, Cyril presents her with an abundance of sweets. Having noticed her longing gaze at a shop, Louise looks surprised to see human consumable cakes, but Colette can't contain her excitement upon seeing the multitude of cakes before her. Cyril explains that he had the cakes specially made larger for her. As Colette indulges in the cakes, Louise teasingly comments on her weakness for sweets. Colette, attempting to maintain her composure, denies her fondness for the cakes. However, her tale betrays her excitement as she consumes them, citing her desire to prevent them from going to waste since her master spent so much on them. The perks to have a tsundere at the party. The following day, Cyril visits the public office to submit his patrol report. Rose praises Cyril for successfully owning and training 2 dragons in such a short period, acknowledging his impressive abilities in handling job requests. Cyril thanks her for recognizing his achievements. Rose then broaches a different topic, asking Cyril if he has ever considered starting his own guild. She believes that someone as talented as Cyril shouldn't waste their potential on side jobs. Cyril maintains a serious expression and states that he intends to remain a freelancer and has no plans to join any guild. Rose understands his decision and proceeds to discuss something else with him, asking if he has contemplated establishing his own guild. Rose begins by explaining the rules for opening a guild. She clarifies that guilds are recognized associations by national governments and fall under the category of Dragon Knight associations. She emphasizes the importance of Dragon Knights and dragons to governments, which is why they receive various privileges. Cyril expresses curiosity about these privileges, and Rose enlightens him about the tax benefits extended to Dragon Knights and their dragons. Cyril is taken aback by this new information, as he was previously unaware of the tax advantages. Rose further mentions that as a guild's capabilities increase, so do the abilities of the dragons within it. Cyril's face reflects shock and disbelief upon hearing this revelation. Eager to embark on this new adventure, Cyril finds himself overwhelmed by the possibilities that come with opening his very own guild. Curiosity tingling within him, he turns to Rose, his trusted ally, seeking guidance on the intricate process. With a wealth of knowledge and experience, Rose begins to unravel the secrets of guild creation. As Rose explains the prerequisites, Cyril learns that having a backer is crucial for establishing a guild. To his delight, Rose generously offers herself as his backer and supporter, a gesture that fills his heart with gratitude. Embracing this opportunity with open arms, Cyril accepts her offer, knowing that he couldn't have asked for a more dependable companion. Yet, amidst the excitement, Cyril discovers that there is a financial hurdle to overcome, the daunting deposit of 10,000 reals, a sum that seems exorbitant to him. Cyril momentarily feels a twinge of unease. However, he quickly gathers his wits and reveals his clever solution. With a mischievous smile, he reveals that Colette, his extraordinary dragon, stumbled upon a rare and valuable treasure, the 4-color polylite. By selling this precious ore, Cyril managed to amass the exact amount needed, showcasing his resourcefulness and the extraordinary talents of his beloved dragon. With the deposit concern resolved, Cyril's enthusiasm reignites. Rose guides him through the application process, handing over a form brimming with possibilities. Cyril's eyes sparkle as he imagines the guild taking shape, envisioning a roster filled with brave representatives and a diverse array of dragons. With pen in hand, he begins to fill out the form, eagerly pouring his dreams onto the page. At this moment, Cyril realizes that his journey is just beginning. The challenges ahead may be great, but with Rose's support, the funds secured, and his steadfast determination, Cyril stands ready to create a guild that will leave an indelible mark on the world. Next, Rose asks Cyril to come up with a name for the guild. Cyril quickly decides on Dragons First, believing it best reflects the true essence of his new guild. Breaking news! MC's guild is open for business, and brace yourselves because it's all about MC's rules and, you guessed it, the grand priority of dragons. Who would have seen that coming? Rose signs the form as Cyril's backer, and as she does, a little fairy emerges from the form. Cyril finds this peculiar but is told to keep the fairy, as it will accompany him and its purpose will become clear over time. Rose then presents Cyril with a box containing collars and ankle bands, tools to measure a dragon's energy. She explains that these tools are effective and become even more so as the guild level increases. Cyril hesitates, mentioning that he has seen dragons in the Lindworm Guild wearing similar tools, and expresses discomfort about putting them on his dragons. Rose solves his dilemma by suggesting that he visit the dragon tool shop, where he can find other accessories in addition to the collars. Returning home, Cyril excitedly announces to his dragons that he's planning to splurge on some fancy accessories for them. He mentions the dragon tool shop, where they can find glamorous earrings and ribbons, and eagerly asks them to choose their desired adornments. To no one's surprise, Louise the sleep enthusiast suggests a sleeping bag as her accessory of choice. Cyril raises an eyebrow, realizing that his dragon has a penchant for unconventional fashion. Trying to compromise, Louise settles for an eye mask, probably hoping it will enhance her beauty sleep even more. Turning to Colette, Cyril curiously inquires about her preference, only to witness her blushing and requesting a delicate ribbon. It seems even mighty dragons have a touch of girlish charm. Amused by the contrast, Cyril joyfully escorts his dragons to the dragon tool shop, ready to order their custom-made eye masks and embrace their unique fashion choices. Before their eagerly awaited accessories arrive, Cyril helps his dragons put on their new collars, though he can't shake off a nagging feeling of discomfort. As Louise excitedly expects her stylish eye mask, a sudden glow emanates from Cyril's bag, catching his attention. To his surprise, it's his guild card that's illuminating, indicating that the guild has unexpectedly reached level 2. Confused and perplexed by this rapid progression, Cyril shares the strange occurrence with Rose, seeking an explanation. Rose, equally puzzled, examines the guild card but finds no errors or glitches, confirming the surprising level upgrade. Cyril can't help but wonder if some supernatural force or mischievous glitch is at play, turning his guild into an overachiever overnight. Filled with curiosity about the rewards that come with reaching level 2, Cyril turns to Rose, eager to uncover the secrets. With a smile, Rose unfurls a piece of paper, which magically transforms into a detailed map of the town. Cyril's eyes widen as he spots a bright dot marking Louise's location, signifying her presence within the guild's reach. Searching for Colette's location, Cyril's initial disappointment is replaced by amusement as he assumes she must be stationed in a remote area beyond the map's current range, diligently fulfilling her mountainous duties. Rose, intrigued by this newfound information, reveals the map's hidden gem, a special zoom feature. With a flick of her finger, the map zooms out, unveiling Colette's precise location, much to Cyril's delight. As he marvels at the expanding possibilities, Cyril realizes that with each level his guild attains, he'll unlock even more extraordinary abilities, making him feel like a true master of his dragon companions. As Cyril arrives home, he excitedly presents Colette with a carefully wrapped bag containing her much-anticipated ribbon. Seeing the adorable accessory, Colette's eyes sparkle with delight, and a wide grin spreads across her face. Cyril gently takes the ribbon and skillfully places it on Colette, who instantly turns into a blushing dragon, her scales shimmering with embarrassment. Unable to contain his admiration, Cyril showers her with compliments, praising her radiant beauty. Colette's heart swells with joy, mixed in with a playful hint of bashfulness, as she realizes how much Cyril cares for her. Their lighthearted banter fills the air, creating a warm and loving atmosphere in their dragon-filled home. Oh, the youth. Wait, what? As Cyril gazes at his guild card, he is taken aback by another radiant glow, indicating a surge in guild experience. While the level remains unchanged, the significant increase in experience piques his interest. Casting a glance at Colette, who is beaming with joy, Cyril can't help but wonder if there's a connection between his dragon's affection and the guild card's mysterious glow. In the morning light, Cyril and Luis embark on their quest for a new adventure, their eyes filled with anticipation. As they discuss the previous night's giggles from Colette, Cyril is taken aback by the revelation that she yearns to impress him. It dawns on him that his words of praise hold the power to evoke such genuine happiness in his dragons. The memory of Colette's glowing ribbon and guild card resurfaces, strengthening his belief in his theory about their connection to the guild's advancement holding merit. Meanwhile, Luis, donning her adorable eye mask, excitedly draws Cyril's attention to a letter of commendation proudly displayed at the public office, honoring the esteemed Lindworm Guild. Cyril acknowledges Lindworm's well-deserved recognition and realizes that his guild has the potential to reach such heights. Determination ignites within him as he envisions a future where his guild too enters the admiration and commendation of the kingdom. As Cyril immerses himself in the contents of the notice board, a familiar face from his days as a Dragon Knight guildmate in Lindworm unexpectedly appears before him, unable to resist the urge to taunt Cyril for venturing on his own guild path. With a conceited air, the former Dragon Knight boasts about Lindworm's newfound reputation, proudly declaring their popularity among renowned B-ranked Dragon Knights and seasoned individuals who seek to join their esteemed ranks, all thanks to the commendation they received. Cyril acknowledges the skill and prestige that B-ranked Dragon Knights possess, well aware of their pivotal role in guild operations. However, he remains unfazed by the mockery, unyielding in his firm distaste for Lindworm's policies, irresponsive of their current success. Cyril understands that there is more to a guild than just reputation, valuing his own principles and vision above all else. Just as the Dragon Knight makes his exit, Cyril's attention is immediately drawn to a growing throng of people congregating outside. Intrigued by the commotion, he approaches a nearby individual and inquires about the cause, only to discover that a significant hunt is underway to capture a rogue dragon that has managed to escape from a neighboring guild. Cyril finds this occurrence highly unusual, as he has never encountered such an incident during his time as a Dragon Knight. His curiosity is piqued, and he contemplates delving deeper into the matter, envisioning himself embarking on a daring investigation. However, his observant eyes catch sight of Luis, who as ever displays clear signs of wariness, prompting Cyril to abandon his ambitious plans. Recognizing the paramount importance of ensuring Luis's well-being, he selflessly sets aside his curiosity and redirects his steps towards the town hall, determined to report the incident and contribute to the collective effort to address the situation at hand. Such a responsible young man. Just before entering the town hall, Cyril has an interesting encounter with the dragon who seems to recognize him. The dragon, named Emma, asks for Cyril's help and expresses her inability to stay at her guild any longer, which troubles Cyril. He decides to bring Emma to his home and remembers that she is a Zmei-type dragon from Lindworm. Cyril recalls that Zmei-type dragons are smaller in size, but commonly found in guilds due to their combat abilities. Curious about why Emma has run away from her guild, Cyril asks her. Emma explains that one day when she wasn't feeling well and wanted to rest, her guild doesn't listen to her and forces her to work. As a result, she made mistakes, got injured, and was further reprimanded by the guildmaster, who states that a dragon that makes mistakes is useless and should be worked to death or disposed of. Cyril feels saddened by Emma's story and realizes that she has been expecting him near the town hall. Emma's tearful plea pierces Cyril's heart, compelling him to grant her refuge within his humble abode. Yet even as he extends his hospitality, a lingering sense of apprehension pervades his thoughts, anticipating the potential complications that could arise due to the Lindworm Guild's involvement. With Emma pouring out her troubles, the conversation is abruptly interrupted by a resounding knock at the door, resonating with the force that instills a deep sense of unease within both Cyril and Emma. Gripped by anxiety, Emma's fearful imagination envisions the ominous presence of Lindworm looming just beyond the threshold, relentlessly in their pursuit. However, Cyril, driven by his innate resolve, provides Emma with reassurance and steps forward to confront the Dragon Knight, who brazenly accuses him of pilfering his very own dragon. The Dragon Knight, fortified by the claims of supposed witnesses, confronts Cyril with an air of certainty, escalating the tension and amplifying the weight of the situation at hand. Cyril admits to having Emma but refuses to hand her over. He proposes that the Dragon Knight returns to the guild and they can negotiate a trade for Emma later. However, the stubborn Dragon Knight rejects Cyril's offer, stating that he can't hand over a runaway dragon. Cyril reiterates Emma's words about the guildmaster's plan to work her to death, which makes handing her over unacceptable. Cyril demands the Dragon Knight leave and go back to his guild. The Dragon Knight forcefully enters Cyril's home, scaring Emma, but Luis, considering him a threat to her master, shoots a powerful light spear at him, which he narrowly avoids. The Dragon Knight loses his composure, and Cyril tells him that he deserves the attack for trespassing. Cyril insists once again that the Dragon Knight leaves and goes back to his guild. The Dragon Knight leaves, complaining and making threats while Luis goes back to sleep. Cyril then goes to the Lindworm Guild to negotiate a trade for Emma. He meets with the Lindworm Guildmaster, Dickie Raj. Dicky inquires if Cyril wants to take one of their dragons and receives a positive response. Cyril expresses his refusal to allow the guild to mistreat Emma and states that he is not concerned about being labeled in a certain way. Cyril requests the necessary funds to take Emma from the guild, disregarding the traditional attitude Dicky expects. Cyril surprises Dicky with his unexpected action, leaving him taken aback. Dicky loses interest in continuing the discussion and allows Cyril to have the dragon. Overwhelmed by the collective distress emanating from his beloved dragons, Cyril's heart swells with empathy and concern as he takes in the sight of their anxious expressions. His gaze is drawn to Emma, tears glistening in her eyes, further tugging at his compassionate nature. In a tender gesture, Cyril wraps his arms around her, enveloping her in a comforting embrace, assuring her that everything will be alright. As Emma's trembling subsides, Cyril unveils the news, a glimmer of hope that soothes their troubled souls. Sensing the weight of the moment, Cyril turns to Emma, inviting her to share her thoughts on the path ahead. With unwavering determination, she expresses her heartfelt wish to remain by Cyril's side, becoming an integral part of his team. In that very instant, a mystical light unexpectedly materializes in Cyril's hand, captivating their attention. Astonished, they witness the revelation of a radiant ring, its significance instantly recognized by the dragons as an ancient artifact. Well, they say it, virtue never goes to waste. Caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the enigmatic ring in his hand, Cyril's eyes widen in astonishment, his mind buzzing with a mixture of curiosity and excitement. Yet what truly leaves him breathless is the revelation imparted by his wise and loyal dragons. This ring, now exposed as an ancient artifact, holds a profound significance. They share a tale woven through time, speaking of a hidden treasure that is none other than the cherished creation of the fabled Dragon King, an emblem of their kind's rich heritage. In their collective memories, dragons once reigned supreme over the earth, and the artifact was a symbol of their dominion. Cyril's heart fills with wonder as he learns that the ring unveils itself only to those who are truly beloved by the dragons, a testament to their profound connection. Though Emma, Louise, and Colette cannot recall encountering the artifact before, their instincts confirm its authenticity, echoing the enchantment it radiates. Deciding to entrust the artifact to his dragons, Cyril attempts to give it to Colette, but she refuses to store it inside her stomach, leaving him with no alternative but to wear the ring himself. Cyril wonders if donning the ring will grant him any special abilities, and when he observes his dragons, he notices 2 bars above each of their heads. Filled with genuine concern, Cyril's gaze lingers on Colette, his eyes reflecting a tender worry. Sensing a subtle shift in her demeanor, he musters the courage to inquire about her well-being, gently probing if she might be feeling unwell on this particular day. Colette, caught off guard by his attentiveness, pauses for a moment, processing his unexpected question. Although her initial response is to dismiss any discomfort, asserting that she is perfectly fine, Cyril knows deep down that there might be more to her wariness than meets the eye. With heartfelt sincerity, Cyril unveils his unique ability to perceive the 2 bars hovering above each dragon's head, silently conveying their physical and mental states. As the truth dawns upon Colette, she realizes that her exhaustion has not gone unnoticed by her caring master. A soft smile graces her lips, a blend of surprise and gratitude. Cyril's gentle demeanor and perceptive nature have uncovered the silent struggles she's been carrying within. Without hesitation, Cyril acknowledges his oversight, sincerely apologizing for failing to recognize the signs of her fatigue earlier. Colette, ever humble and resilient, attempts to dismiss his concern, assuring him that it's nothing of great significance. Yet Cyril's caring nature persists, his voice laced with determination and sincerity as he insists that she takes a much-needed day off on the following day. With a touch of insistence, Cyril impresses upon Colette the importance of preserving her well-being, urging her to refrain from pushing herself to the point of overexertion. The warmth in his words resonates deeply, enveloping Colette with a sense of cherished care. Cyril understands that the artifact was given to him so he could monitor Colette's physical condition and prevent her from overworking. The sense of duty is almost real. Colette, in her tsundere manner, reluctantly agrees, acknowledging that she needs some rest. Cyril is delighted to possess the artifact, as it allows him to take better care of his dragons. After the passage of time, Cyril's abode welcomes an unexpected guest by the name of Roland Flory, who arrives on the recommendation of none other than Lady Catherine. Curiosity piqued, Cyril eagerly awaits to hear the purpose of Roland's visit. In response, Roland reveals a tale of peril and misfortune, recounting a harrowing encounter between a formidable guild of dragon knights and a menacing horde of monsters. Cyril's memory serves him well, reminding him of the treacherous nature of suppression missions, perilous undertakings that promise both grand rewards and illustrious reputations. Roland's somber voice carries the weight of tragedy as he unveils the grim aftermath of the battle. The entire Vanguard battalion, once standing tall on the front lines, is now reduced to mere memory, their valiant souls vanquished without a single survivor to tell the tale. Cyril's eyes widen in disbelief, for such catastrophic incidents had remained elusive for a span of 5 long years, leading him to question the unfathomable circumstances that led to this unprecedented catastrophe. With a sense of solemnity, Roland proceeds to unravel the intricate details of the mission that awaits Cyril's unwavering determination. He reveals a crucial aspect of the Dragon Knight's protocol during suppression missions: the revered will, a personal item that holds great significance. Cyril's heart sinks at the thought of retrieving such poignant mementos from the fallen knights, recognizing the weight and emotional value they hold. Roland continues, his voice carrying a mixture of urgency and hope. He reveals the precise location where Cyril must embark on this solemn quest, unveiling the daunting yet alluring Danzig Valley as the setting for their mission. To motivate Cyril's unwavering commitment, Roland offers a reward of 5,000 reals, a substantial sum that can fuel Cyril's ambitions and provide a semblance of financial stability. Grateful for the gesture, Cyril expresses his gratitude to Roland, acknowledging the offer while silently contemplating the moral quandary of claiming dragon gear that rightfully belongs to the fallen. Ever the considerate leader, Cyril meticulously plans his journey, taking into account the sleeping patterns of his cherished companion, Luis. With the mental map forming in his mind, Cyril estimates that the pilgrimage to Danzig Valley will span a rigorous 3-day journey, where both trials and revelations await them in equal measures. Luis surprises Cyril by revealing that she overheard the entire conversation about the mission the previous night, causing him to worry about his privacy. As Cyril sets out with his 3 dragons, he educates them about the treasure trove, which involves recovering battlefield equipment and later selling it for money. He shares cautionary tales of people accidentally triggering cursed magic items through careless handling, emphasizing the need for vigilance during treasure trove activities. After traveling for several days, they arrive at Danzig Valley, where they come across the grim aftermath of the battle: 20 fallen dragon knights and 30 deceased dragons. Cyril and his party feel a sense of sorrow at the sight of the tragic conflict. Emma signals that there are no enemies nearby, and Cyril instructs his dragons to search for a necklace-like accessory. Colette expresses dissatisfaction with the task and appears disheartened. Cyril suggests that she take the day off, but she insists on working regardless. Successfully gathering all the necklaces, the dragon's masterful retrieval is marred by Colette's evident distress and her eagerness to leave the area as soon as possible. However, Cyril refuses to depart before giving the fallen warriors and dragons a proper burial. The dragons are surprised by Cyril's intention to bury both humans and their own kind, finding his decision peculiar since they had never heard of such a practice. Cyril expresses his inability to leave the corpses without giving them a proper farewell. When Cyril notices his dragons considering him strange for desiring to provide a burial for fallen dragons, he apologizes to them, stating that he can perform the task alone if they object. As a response, the accessories on all 3 dragons begin to glow, signifying their acknowledgement of Cyril as a good person.